Okay, right. So now in question F. In question F, they say that determine the values of k if the graph of f is shifted so that the new graph h of x minus k equals to negative 2x to the power of 3 minus 11x squared minus 12x plus 9 does not intersect the graph of g for x greater than 0. So they want us, so meaning that from starting from 0 going to infinity, the new graph mustn't intersect, the graph of g. Now the way that you can understand this, if the values of k were still bigger than 0, it will only be that the graph of f it will just go on being above and above and above, but it will continue to still intersect with the graph of g. Now the only way for that, for the graph of for the new function to not intersect g, it's when it's gonna start being below. So it has to maybe something to be like something like this. All right, you understand? Because if it was values that are still of k that are bigger than 0, it was gonna still be something like maybe like something that goes like this, or something that goes still like this. It will only be that the y-intercept, it will just change. All right, because remember we are given that h minus k equals to minus 2x to the power of 3 minus 11x minus, sorry, not minus 11x, minus 11x squared minus 12x plus 5. Now, and also remember that the y-intercept of the graph of f of x, so the y, let me use a different color, y-intercept for f of x, we are given to be, we have it as 0, 9. Now another intercept that we need to find to be able to do this kind of a comparison, or to be able to find those values of x, we need to know the y-intercepts for the function of g of x. Now remember that in the previous question, we found our g of x to be 2 over x plus 3 plus 3. Now we need to find the y-intercept. Right, now if we find the y-intercept, we're going to see y-intercept for g of x. Now we're going to say let x equals to 0, and if we do that, we're going to say y equals to 2 over 0 plus 3 plus 3 to 0 plus 3 plus 3, we get 11 over 3. So the actual y-intercept is 0, 1 over 11 over 3. Okay, now we do have the y-intercept for the graph of g, and we also have the y-intercept for the graph of g of x. Now remember, I said that for the only way that the new function can actually not intersect with the graph of g in the interval x greater than or equals to 0, it can only be when it can be something that goes like this, right? Or something that goes maybe like here, and then it changes somewhere here around, or it goes something like this, or it goes something like this, and so on and so on. So we need a starting point, because if it's values of k that are still bigger than 0, it's gonna go something like this, or something like this, or something like this. The only thing that's going to change is the y-intercept. The y-intercept may not be 9, it may be 10, it may be 11, it may be 12, and so on and so on, but it will continue still cutting. It will continue to intersect with the graph of G. So the only way it's when it is below that. So now the starting point that we need is for us to say, the starting point for us to know which values it has to be less than, because we need a certain value first. The starting point of the value that we need, that the values of k needs to be less than, we're gonna say that the starting point it will be values when we say 11 over 3 minus 9, and that is equals to minus 16 over 3. Right, let's just check that up. 11 over 3 minus 9, it is minus 16 over 3. So when we do the subtraction between this intercept and that intercept, probably this value is lower, because if you check that value, minus 16 over 3, it's actually lower. So we actually have an intercept that is lower, because if we had an intercept which is minus 16 over 3, the graph is going to be probably something like, and then it will change, and then it's going to cut probably the y axis there at that point, and maybe that point can be minus 5. So can you see that if it was a value like that, it is probably going to not intersects with that function there at x greater than 0. So the actual answer that we're looking for at the end, it's actually k less than minus 16 over 3. And all values less than minus 16 over 3, they all gonna allow us to have a function of hx minus k equals to negative 2x to the power of 3 minus 11x squared minus 12x plus 9, that is not going to intersect the graph of G for x greater than or less than 0. Hopefully that's clear.